All right, every once in a while, a story comes out of the sports world that is just so wild, so completely out there, you'd think it was made up. Well, today, we're diving into one of those legends.
So let's just jump right into it. We're looking at a story titled The Incredible, Unbelievable, Absolutely Nuts Story of Big Biceps Bob. And you know what? That title doesn't even do it justice. Seriously, this is one of the most infamous and honestly one of the funniest tales in the entire history of bodybuilding.
Okay, so first things first. We gotta set the scene and introduce the man, the myth himself, Big Biceps Bob.
So Big Biceps Bob, or BBB for short, he wasn't just some other guy on the stage. No. This dude was a total phenomenon. I mean, people said his biceps were so big they looked like they could bench press a small car. It was like his body just ignored the laws of physics. So, heading into the 2023 Mr. Gigantic Universe competition, there was no doubt in anyone's mind. He was the guy, the absolute shoo-in to win the whole thing.
So picture this, right? The crowd is just roaring. The stage lights are so bright you can barely see, and you can just feel the tension in the air. It's the final pose down. This is it, the moment we find out who the new champion is.
And this is where the story takes a hard left turn into Crazy Town. What happens next on that stage? It's not just going to be remembered, it's going to go down in total infamy. So Bob, he's all oiled up, sparkling under the lights, and he walks right to the center of the stage like he owns the place. The crowd, of course, just loses it. He flexes and, boom, hits that signature double front biceps pose. You know, the one that won him pretty much everything before. This was supposed to be it, his victory lap. But right as he hits the peak of that pose, squeezing every single muscle fiber, a sound cuts through the noise of the arena. It's this sharp, sudden pop, just like a balloon. And you could just hear the entire audience gasp at once. So, what was that sound? Well, the article we're looking at doesn't really mince words. And yeah, you're reading that slide right. At the absolute peak of physical strain, Bob's, nether regions had, well, they'd literally exploded. But here's the thing. What happened next is what turns this from just a horrifying, cringeworthy accident into an actual legend. This is the moment that cemented Big Biceps Bob's name in the history books forever. And this, right here, this is the difference between a normal competitor and an absolute legend. I mean, think about it. Any normal human being would have just collapsed in a heap of agony, right? Or maybe run off the stage screaming. But not Bob. Oh no. He held that pose, his face just a total mask of pure grit-your-teeth determination. So in the middle of all this absolute chaos, one tiny little rule suddenly becomes the most important thing on the planet. See, to be officially judged for a pose, you have to hold it for a minimum amount of time. And how long was that? 10 seconds. Just 10 seconds. But can you even imagine how long those 10 seconds must have felt? His body is literally in a state of catastrophic failure, and this man has to hold his signature winning pose with this insane grimace on his face for 10 full seconds. All right, so let's shift over to the judges' table because this is where the story gets its absolutely unbelievable ending. I mean, how in the world do you even begin to judge a situation like this? At first, the judges are just frozen. You can see them looking at each other. Then there's this frantic whispering. They're scrambling, flipping through the rule book, trying to find a rule for this. A rule that just doesn't exist. And all the while, the clock is ticking, and every second feels like an hour to everyone in that arena. And then finally, the head judge gets up. He walks to the microphone, clears his throat, and his voice just booms across this now totally silent arena. And the winner of the 2023 Mr. Gigantic Universe is Big Biceps Bob! And the crowd just went insane. They weren't just cheering for a victory, they were cheering for the absolute spectacle they had just witnessed. As the medics are rushing Bob off the stage, his legend is already sealed. This wasn't a win for having the biggest muscles. This was a win for having the most unbelievable, mind-blowing willpower you've ever seen. But wait, the story doesn't even stop there. Because the impact of Bob's, let's call it, explosive victory, it sent these huge ripples through the whole sport. It created this legacy that is just as bizarre as the event itself. So first off, he basically became an internet god overnight. You had endless debates, and oh my god, the memes were everywhere. Then you started seeing these new extreme bodybuilding competitions pop up, events that tested your mental toughness just as much as your physical strength. And, of course, his story became the ultimate locker room legend. It's that story that gets whispered in gyms all across the globe, part warning, part inspiration. And really, that kind of brings us to the big takeaway here. The legend of Big Biceps Bob, as completely absurd as it is, it leaves us with this surprisingly deep question. When it comes to the ultimate test of strength, what's actually more important? Is it the size of your muscles, or is it the size of your spirit?